Hello everyone, sorry for the glare of my laptop and my glasses, but anyway, I'd like to welcome you to another video. I usually do care awareness videos and mental health videos, and if not the videos, then at least feel free to check out my blog site. I'll put the link up just below this video channel. I also have an audio site and a Twitter channel. I think I've mentioned that already in my other videos, and plus I also have a mental health newspaper. But anyway, enough shameless advertising. You might remember some time ago I made a video about 10 things that carers should be angry about, specifically I suppose mental health carers, because basically that's what I am. I'm trying to care for someone using the mental health services, so I'm very, very close to me, obviously. But this video is going to be about 10 things that I feel as a carer, and I'm sure other carers feel as well, that they are happy about regarding the National Health Service based over in the UK. Obviously I don't want to make this video overrun. I'm going to make it a bit shorter than the one I made before. And again, these are just my views, so this might not be the case for other carers out there. Well, let's begin, I suppose, and I think what I'd like to also say is that throughout these 10 views, I don't think that there's one that sticks out above any of the others. They're all equally important because it depends upon that part of your carer's journey. Obviously, one carer rule or whatever made a carer happy was more important on that specific part of the journey than another part of the journey. Basically, near the end of the journey, not all the rules or the advice that I'm going to point out is going to be as useful at a specific journey. Right, so number one, the first thing carers tend to appreciate or are happy about is if they're listened to. And basically, carers aren't stupid, to be honest, because they can tell when someone's not listening to them. They can tell when a doctor is just got their hands on a set of notes, or they're looking at their watch worrying about the next appointment that they have to speak to a patient, or they're interrupting the carer. Obviously it's going to make the carer irate. But if the carer feels that they're listened to, then for sure they're going to be happy about it. And there's been instances where I felt that I've been listened to. It's one of the most important things that a carer would want. And the next thing that make carers happy regarding the NHS or social services is if, regarding the care that their loved one receives from the NHS. And that is specifically important because if you're caring for someone and they do fall unwell and they do end up in hospital or in a mental health ward, then if the carer does visit and finds that their loved one is being looked after, obviously it's going to make them happy. It's very important. So that's number two. Number three, I did skip a step, I've forgotten about it, but basically what carers felt regarding that, that makes them happy is not only if they're listened to, but if their concerns are acted upon, which is perhaps even more important, I would say. So a carer is warning a staff member saying, look, my loved one's about to relapse, or they're not doing well on this medication, and let's say the doctor or the nurse or the care coordinator or the social worker even did speak to the patient or the service user and made a decision on this, then felt that the carer has a point, obviously the carer would be happy about it. I'm not saying that the carer is running the cared for's lives, but if there's a situation where the cared for can't fully make a rational decision, or does not have that insight, that was the word I was looking for, and the carer does have some idea, then that is what I would feel that would make the carer happy, and that was making carers happy regarding the NHS. So the next one, as you may have noted, a lot of these things that I'm raising here is almost the exact reverse of what I've raised in the other video I made on, I suppose, what made 10 things of what made carers unhappy or what made carers angry about regarding the level of services that they receive or that their loved one receive from the National Health Service. So alright, so the next thing is, I suppose, being recognised as a carer, and that would be one of the things that definitely makes carers happy. And it doesn't have to be in the NHS, it could be at a care centre, it could be at a community hub. Social worker could perhaps do that. It's not advisable. I mean, I think it's important that whoever is providing some assistance to the patient try and have some input regarding the carer's assessment. And it's well known, and I know this stigma on the word carer, not everyone likes being called a carer, but, and a big but, is that whatever they're doing in order to provide support for who they care for, they need to know their rights. They need to know that they're not overdoing it. They're not making themselves ill. And yes, a carer's assessment is one of the ways in which a carer or someone providing support can be aware of what they're doing. It doesn't actually have to be a carer's assessment. In fact, I would say, and people might frown at this, but I would say that identifying a carer as soon as possible before it gets to the carer's assessment is the number one prime directive. You shouldn't just have someone hand you over a carer's assessment and then say you're a carer. That doesn't work that way. Let's talk about real life. As soon as you present yourself and say to yourself, I'm being trying to care for this person, I've got no support, and then the staff start listening to you and start acknowledging you way before the carer's assessment, then you get an idea that, you know, look, I'm getting some support. And then all that dialogue, all that engagement, perhaps even therapy, can contribute to that carer's assessment. So okay, let's go on to the next one. Another important factor, I suppose, this is very, very important actually, and it's something that the NHS has to get to grips with. I know they're under a lot of strain, but this is something that I find very useful to me as a carer. And basically all this boils down to is if the staff member who is working for the services is being polite, friendly, being on time, getting back to the carer, and promising to do as they say. Now think about this carefully. If you're a customer and whatever I mentioned wasn't being done, or the opposite, would you want to go back there? Would you want to use that service again? It's just common sense. But to be fair, it's not as easy, because I'm aware that nurses, doctors, psychiatrists, mental health specialists, they are under pressure. The junior doctors, they're under pressure. Not enough staff to go around, not enough resources. I am very much aware about that, and when push comes to shove, I am noted that people lose their temper. You know, they're only human. Now, if they're not supported, think about it this way, if they're not supported, then they're not going to support the patient or the carer that well, are they? Nevertheless, I think it goes down to staff training as well. We don't want to make too many excuses, and I do feel this is what makes carers happy, if they are treated with respect and they're dealing with staff who are polite, have an attitude to make that difference, even though we all full well know that they are under pressure themselves. We all have to work together. That's what I'm basically trying to say. Right, okay. Although this one's difficult, I've got to admit. Information. Now, I know what made me happy in the past is that I was given information on my loved one regarding how I could provide that support and information to help me make certain decisions on what I might need to do. I would say it's almost inclusiveness. Now, I'm aware of confidentiality. I know, again, in the other video I made, if a carer was given next to no information about their loved one, even if there was an agreement and a documented agreement that the carer should be involved, then yeah, obviously the carer would be irate, they'd be angry. That's understandable. And another thing that would make a carer specifically angry, and this does happen, is if the patient becomes unwell. Now I'm talking about mental health patients, or your loved one who becomes mentally unwell, and the carer has been given the rights with the agreement of the patient to visit their loved one, but then every day the staff is asking the loved one, do you feel that your loved one, that your carer should have the right to ask you this? And they keep asking again and again and again and again, and then there's going to be a amount of time when the patient says, oh well, perhaps you're right, maybe I shouldn't tell them. So this leaves the carer being shut out. They're thinking, well, what went wrong? Why am I being shut out? My loved one wanted someone to see them in the inpatient ward. So why am I being, what's going on here? Anyway, that's another video for another time. What makes carers happy is if they're inclusive. They're not asking for the world. They're not going to turn around and go to the newspaper and say, look, my loved one's crazy and they're lunatic. I don't think they're going to be going around doing that. Obviously you're going to get the odd family problems. I'm aware about that. But I think the majority of carers are not like that. The reason they are carers is that they're desperately trying to support their loved one, and they will go all out to make that known. So including carers, giving information enough for them to be involved and help them do their role, because come on NHS, you're running out of beds. You don't have them in the first place. So obviously patients are going to have to want that support out in the community. Who's going to do that? The carer. You can't even afford, social services are being cut. So where's the money going to come from? Basically, it's the family, it's the carers going to have to step in, and they are unpaid. They're doing this out of a connection to their loved one. They're doing it because they do love their loved one. Is something I would think that would happen in a civilized society. You just can't expect to be shelling out money to other services when families are not supported, because they're doing it for free anyway. What's the problem? Alright, I don't want to rant and rave. Let's go on to the next one. I've got a habit of ranting. Alright, alright, this is very, very important. Right, another thing which would make carers happy, and which have made them happy, is to have staff tell carers what they need to do in order to prepare for the future. And this doesn't happen enough. I'm sure this is the case. Now what I mean is actually by helping the carer and the patient, on what would happen if their loved one would fall ill again. And it could be in the form of a living will. It could be in the form of an advance directive. It could be in the form of a power of attorney. Just a written agreement of what would happen if the loved one were to lose that capacity, or to they would fall unwell. This is also in regards to finances. Now this has to be sort of be made when the patient or the loved one has capacity, not when they don't, not when they're not fully that well. I think there's been a habit of trying to get decisions made when the patient or the loved one is still not that well. There's still fluctuations of they're not sure what they're doing and why. However, if and usually when the loved one has recovered, that is when there should be steps made to protect now not only the carer, not only the patient or the service user, but the family. And in future, now I do feel that this doesn't happen enough. Once the patient is discharged from the mental health ward or from a hospital, it's bye-bye. You're on your way. Good luck. And the carer has to get on with it, and they don't know what's going on, especially carers new to the role. They don't know about this advanced directive. They don't know about this living will. What's that? And I want to cover that later on down on another video at some point. But if staff do the job right, I suppose, or go out their way and say, look, listen, this is perhaps twice or the third time the loved one's been admitted, and what I'd advise for you, instead of your loved one coming out and there's still a lot of chaos for them to deal with, perhaps you should both agree on putting some plans together just in case there's another readmittance. And I find that is so important. It really does save a lot of stress and strife. Okay, I think this one's number 8. I'm sorry, I've not kept track of the numbers. Another thing that would make carers happy, I suppose, is that if staff member only, I'm laughing here because this doesn't happen hardly enough, but if a staff member admit that mistakes were made, rather than admit lessons were learned. Now notice there's two different things going on here. First one's been mistakes made, we are sorry. That one's lessons learned. Now the difference is between this is that the sooner a staff member can say, look, I'm sorry, I've missed something off a document, I'm going to own up and tell you, rather than lessons learned, which is when it's too late. The loved ones come to harm, or someone in the family's come to harm, and there's a lot of investigations, and it's all in the newspaper, and then what we get is we will learn the lessons for the next time. But the problem, basically what the problem is that when someone's missed something off a record, or when someone's not been told of something, or when procedures weren't followed up, and a staff member would say like, oh sorry, we admit we made a problem. We're going to correct this before it gets to this lessons learned thing. So that's what makes me happy. Now look, I'm not looking for scapegoats. Carers can mess things up as well. We're human. But if there's training regarding staff members need to own up, and I don't agree that because someone made a mistake they should be sacked and they should be made an example of it. This is very important, especially regarding mental health trusts and hospitals. Getting people to admit they might have made a mistake as soon as possible, to the care or family, can make a whole a matter of difference before it reaches the stage of lessons learned. Because I get the feeling lessons aren't learned, otherwise we wouldn't have difficult stories in the newspaper time and time again. Okay, I think this is it number 8 last? Number 9. Okay, number 9 is I suppose another thing that I felt would make me happy for myself, I suppose, and this might be the situation where the carers is this is down to inclusiveness again. It's not really on the carer's role per se, but this is regarding empowerment. Now, I don't know if you heard the term CCG. They're the clinical commissioning groups. They're the ones who buy the services regarding health services. But the CCG in each borough or district tends to want to hear from patients, the public or carers about how these services should be, you know, developed. Yeah. So it's not just CCG's Health Watch, it's the health services themselves. They want to go out, and they should go out and engage with the public. They should definitely engage with carers. Now, carers, yeah, it's not an easy thing for them to do. But if you really want to make a change regarding support you get, definitely go to these meetings, definitely go to these consultations. It's all about empowerment. Now, I'm not expecting you to be health professionals. You're not there for that. You're there as a carer because that is your experience, that is your profession. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not saying that you're a carer and that's that. You're more than that. You're yourself, your identity. You have your own dreams, you have your own wishes. But at that situation, at that point in time, you're trying to support someone. Now, the worst thing to happen is that we get a diktat where health services seems to say, well, this is what you get, and like it or lump it, we don't care, we don't have the money, I'm sorry. And then all you're going to get is that you feel unsupported, you're not getting your assessments, you're not being listened to. So this is empowerment. Go to these meetings, find out about them, check out on the internet if one is happening in your area. Go there, even if you feel like you haven't a clue, you're learning something while you're there. And this is what makes me happy. Going to these meetings, having people listen to me, seeing them note things down. But take note, it's not about them writing all this stuff down and disappearing off somewhere behind a locked door. I'm afraid you're going to have to just monitor what they're doing every so often. You might email them, you might say, listen, you were at this meeting, you were chairing this, what's going on, what's happening with these things that were pointed out. Anyway, I don't want to make this video overrun, I'm going off tangent again. But I just felt this is so important. I don't want to sort of miss this, and this is what would make me happy as a carer, and I'm sure what would make other carers happy regarding their role. Okay, so I think I've covered 10. I'm not sure if I haven't. I'm doing this almost at the top of my head. I do apologize. I'm going to write a blog as well on this to accompany the video. But anyway, this is, I think, around about 10 things on what carers are happy or should be happy with if they get this level of service either from the NHS or from their local authority. As a note, if you like this video and if you're looking for more videos like the one I've mentioned now, please subscribe. I'm going to try and do some shout outs on some other videos later on. I did shout out to another YouTuber who's a young YouTuber who's doing mental health awareness for young service users, I suppose, or anyone young suffering mental health difficulties. And I think that is so critical because I know there's a government initiative regarding children and mental health care, and it's a very complex issue, if I can put it that way. But yep, feel free to subscribe, and hope to see you next time. I really hope that I can push these videos and raise some awareness. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. See you next time.